Hey, hello, new InWorldz resident. I am Elenio, the founder of InWorldz, and you are watching this video because you are brand new and you have no idea how to do anything. Don't feel bad. You are not the first and you will not be the last. We have a pretty steep learning curve here, but that's what these tutorials are going to be all about, is helping you figure out how to do what you need to do. So today we're going to be covering your preferences. It's the first thing that you need to know, which is how to set yourself up for the best experience that you can have while you are in the grid. And we're going to get that rolling. You can hit Control P or Command P as it is. See, Preferences, Control P. You can find that under the Me menu up here. I'm just going to hit that. So here you get this lovely screen that has all sorts of lovely things. Most of this you don't need to do this, but your start location is what shows up on the login screen. You can have this defaulted to pretty much anything, but normally I set it to my home. You do what you want. But if you're brand new, you may not have a home yet, so last location might be best. You can also set up whether or not you want to see the name tags of everybody around you for users, their group titles, or display names. Your name, obviously. Some people turn that off because I guess they know their name, which you could do too. Totally up to you. You can have a timeout, which is 5 minutes, and you can also set that to whatever you want. Mine's 5 minutes. It just basically sets you to AFK. It does not log you off, but it just sort of drops your avatar into an AFK pose so that people know that you're not actually there. Under graphics, this is really important. This is based on your graphics card. So as you can see, I have mine set fairly high, between high and ultra. I have a very high-end graphics card, so I like to really see things and make it really pretty here. You can play with this to get the best FPS that you can get. There is also an advanced down here. And advanced will allow you to really fine tune how you do things and how you see things. So for example, draw distance. A lot of times I run at 256, but if I'm doing something for filming where I really need to see a broad area, I'll adjust this distance way up, or I will adjust it back down based on where I am. If I'm at a party, for example, and there's a lot of avatars and I want to help the resin bit and to just my actual area, I will drop this down to like 120 or even 64, and then after everything reses, you can bring it back up again so that the things outside of your area actually start to res in and you can see the whole area. Max particle counts, that's your fireworks, little paw prints that you might see running around, anything that is not actually a prim, but it's emitted from a prim. So your max particle count, it can go all the way up to 8,192. Depending on your graphics card, particles can be incredibly harsh for you to render. So if you have a lower end graphics card, you may want to push your max particle count down. Um, that way your graphics card isn't struggling trying to actually do all that. Post-process quality, again, is going to really depend. You either have high or you have low. So if you have a low-end graphics card or an older graphics card, you're probably going to want it to be on low. Mesh detail. This is, as you can see, I'm wearing a shirt and pants down here, and these are both mesh. A lot of things that you see in our world will be mesh, so you can set the detail that you want on them from high to mid to low. So just remember that whatever you're running on as far as your graphics card goes, you're going to want that to be either low or mid normally. I have a really great graphics card, and I still tend to keep mine on mid. Flexi prims. Flexi prims are hair, skirts, etc. Anything that where the prims tend to fly away on the sides. Those are called flexi prims, and so they can really cause some lag for your graphics card, especially for if a lady has a lot of fly hair that's really, really flexy. So sometimes it may benefit you to turn the flexi prims down to low so that your graphics card is not trying to render them so quickly. Trees. You have trees that are kind of like flexi prims. They'll blow in the breeze and whatnot. Actually, I typically have this on high, and that seems to make them resin a little bit better. Avatars, obviously, if you want those on high, if you want to see everybody's bling, you definitely want that on high. Terrain, I actually usually keep that on high too, but you can do what you want. And then the sky can be from low to mid to high, and that actually affects the sky quality behind me that you can see. You can also turn on your shaders. If you have an older graphics card, you may not have shaders, so you have to play with these things unless you already know your graphics card, to find out what you can use. So there's transparent water, there's bump mapping, shiny, basic shaders, atmospheric shaders, advanced lighting model, and ambient occlusion. These are all really advanced for newer graphics cards. If you don't have one, you're not going to be able to use these. So typically, the system will have these defaulted to off. I have mine turned on. For shadows, you have none, sun and moon, or sun and moon and projectors. Projectors are where we have light shows and whatnot, where they actually reflect light out, and you can see all of those. Water reflections. You can have water reflections. I have mine set to minimal because water can be really, really harsh on the FPS. You can have it get the terrain and the trees. You can have it get all static objects. You can have it get all avatars and objects, or you can have it just render everything. So if you're really into machinima and you have a really good high-end rig, that would be what you want, because that's going to give you the best as far as water reflections go. For avatar rendering, you want hardware skinning. Avatar cloth is completely up to you. This really doesn't do anything, so it just adds a little bit of lag. Avatar physics is high, so that you see what people are doing and pushing into you, etc. That really doesn't do much as far as that goes. Always render friends. You have exceptions where you can de-render people, especially people who annoy you. So if you have a lot of people like that, or if you are having issues with rendering for some reason, you just set it to always render just your friends, so that's all you see. Not many people tend to run that. On your hardware, you have your texture memory. This is really big. If you have a fairly decent computer, doesn't matter on graphics card or anything, this is actually just your texture memory. So it defaults to your video card memory, and reducing it may improve your performance, but it may also make textures blurry because they take longer to res, especially the higher resolution textures that get up to 1024, 2048 in size. So depending on your system, play with this. You'll find what works best for you. There's a fog distance, gamma. Neither of these do I actually use. Anisotropic filtering. Some graphics cards have that, some do not. Enable OpenGL vertex buffer objects. Again, that's modern hardware, just like it says. Older hardware will have poor implementations of this, so it may not be best for you to do that. Enable texture compression. This is really, really good if you're running on a lower thing and they have high things, you can compress the texture, but it's not really something that you really need to do. Anti-aliasing, again, is going to depend on what type of graphics card you have. Mine can run it, so I have two times on it, but a lot of older graphics cards, that will be disabled. For lighting, we have enable local lights and attached lights. So when Avatar is running around, they have little face lights and whatnot. You'll be able to see those. Local lights, like if you go to some regions, they'll have street lamps and whatnot that actually put off lighting. You'll be able to see those, but you can turn them off if you need to. These are the glow options. We have glow on builds, and you can show how much of that glow you want to see. The higher this is all set to, in a region that has more glow, means that you're going to render much slower. Depth of field. So this is your field of view, basically your occlusion, if you will. You can enable it here, and you can do it with film grain in edit mode, your camera number. Uh, Especially for machinima people, this is really, really important. All of this, you can blur stuff, you can do all that. I typically keep it off. It's just so much easier. Life is just easier. But if you're somebody who likes to do a lot of machinima, you're going to want to mess with this. Okay, sound and media. Sounds, we have two tabs here, sounds and voice. Sounds is your master volume. You can mute this when it's minimized. You have your buttons as to what they actually sound like. So if you turn this up, you can actually turn up the volume of your buttons. Your ambient noise is anything that there is around you, like waves, etc. Sound effects is the same thing. Streaming music, you can turn this way up so that when you're on a sim or a region that has a nightclub and music going, or a DJ, whatever, you can turn this up and start dancing and rocking out. Media is anything that is showing on an actual media, so like TV, movies, etc. You can turn all of this up or down. I will also point out that you have the same controls up here, as you can see. You can turn them all up and down here. the exact same ones that you have here. So you have easy access. You don't always have to go to control preferences. You just have to highlight over this volume adjuster here. Sound quality. You can set this to changing the sound quality as to what you hear. It really doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest. You can have it show you your audio stream notifications. So if you're listening to a streaming station, it'll tell you what song is currently playing and who the artist is, which is kind of cool. That way you can, if there's a song that you haven't heard in forever, I do this a lot. I'll see a song that's playing. I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot the song was great. And then I go to my iTunes and I end up downloading it. Allow media to autoplay, which means that every time you enter into a sim, the parcels, or into a region that has media that is playing, it will automatically start playing for you. I typically tend to keep this off because usually I have background music that's playing while I'm working. But if you're good with this, then you can turn this on, and every time you go into a parcel that has media playing, it will automatically start streaming for you. Play media attached to other avatars. Yes, you can run around with music attached to your avatar, and you can have it automatically play that media when it's attached to them. I tend to keep that turned off as well, but the option is up to you. Play sounds from gestures. I love hearing our little dinkies, and so they have lots of little gestures, you know, yeehaw, and all this fun stuff. So I love to hear the sounds that they have with their gestures. So I definitely do that. You can also have it play sounds for typing or teleport. Now, usually I just have this for teleport. Typing is a little annoying, and I hate hearing myself type. So, but again, up to you. If you want to hear yourself typing, you can turn that on, and if you don't want to hear yourself teleporting, you can turn that off. It'll just whoosh you without the whoosh. For voice, if you are a person who likes to voice, we do have voice options for you. Camera position or avatar position. It's based on wherever your camera is versus your avatar. So, like for example, if I zoomed way out on a region, I would only hear the people that were close to my actual camera point of view, not where I actually am, unless I turned it to avatar position, in which I could be in a group of people dancing, and I could zoom way out to take pictures, but I could still hear them talking in voice because it's based on my avatar position and not my camera position. Move avatar lips when speaking. So we do an iNews show every month, and I have this set up. And if you notice my voice control over here when we were talking about the voice controls, it's turned down, but it still picks up my lips moving. So when I'm actually doing the show, my lips actually move for the show. And then that way it all seems to sync up quite nicely. Toggle speak on off when you press whatever key. So you set the key for your toggle on off for voice, and you just hit that and you say you're done. Input output devices. So for example, input for me would be this. It'll pick up what your, ooh, gotta turn that down. All right, there. So it'll pick up what you already have, and then your output, it will do the same thing. So there, now I've got that all set up. I'm going to actually put that back to default because I don't use that. All right. Now we're going to go to chat. Now this is everything about when you're actually chatting, when you're typing in actual chat box. So play typing animation with chatting. Most people have this turned off. Some people like it. It's totally up to you, but basically your avatar will pretend like they are actually typing. Play shout whisper animations when chatting. So if you shout or whisper, especially when you shout, it's kind of cool because your avatar leans back with her hand to their hand to their mouth, and like they're actually shouting. Same thing with whisper. Show nearby chat indicators. So if there's people chatting near you, it'll show up. Announce incoming instant messages. I sort of turn that off. I'm bad that way. Don't send typing notification IM because there are times I do this. I'm busy working on stuff, and I will see somebody actually IMs me, and I may not be able to get to them right away. And I'll start to type an answer, but then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to wait because I actually want to get some more information before I just answer this. So I just backspace over it. But I don't really want them to know that I started typing and then I stopped and I never answered them. So I just leave it that way. But if you're really responsive to IMs, yay, have it on. It's totally up to you. Auto-complete gestures in nearby chat. So that means that it will always complete the gestures, your gestures and everybody else's around you. Automatically close nearby chat when pressing enter. I have that turned off because I like having my chat box open because I get a lot of IMs when I'm talking to people, and I like to be able to select who I'm talking to. And if I hit enter and it always closes that, it gets a little annoying. So my suggestion would be to have it off. Unless you're building and you're really, into something and you don't want to be distracted by it, you can turn it on. Enable Control Enter to shout. That's obviously how you shout. Control Enter. So you type in the sentence and hit Control Enter, and it will shout it. That means if you shout it, anyone on the region will hear you. Just so you know. Enable Shift Enter to whisper. The only avatars that will hear your whisper will have to be within 10 meters of your avatar when you do the whisper. So if you have somebody on the far side of your region, let's say 20 meters away, and you do a whisper, only those who are within 10 meters will actually hear what you actually said when you type it. Forward offline IMs to my email. This can get really, really tricky. Offline IMs to your email also includes any group notices that you happen to be a part of, which can be great unless you really belong to a lot of groups. Then your email tends to get spammed. Now we have a clause in our TOS, and I'm going to put this out here right now, about canceling accounts. We don't cancel accounts. So if you want to close your account, my best suggestion to you is to go to your preferences and turn off offline IMs to email, which is right here. So that way we stop emailing you and you don't feel spammed. Show seconds and chat log timestamps. We will save your chat logs if you want us to in the viewer, and then which is good because if you're being if you have any kind of harassment or griefing going on, you'll be able to pull your logs and send them to us, which we will request if you're having an issue. So, but you don't have to have the seconds. I run mine without the seconds. It keeps the hour and the minute, but not the seconds. Use legacy log naming in conventions. This would apply mostly to older systems. You don't have to worry about this at all. Color chat names based on name tags. If you want to have your chat colored based on who you're talking to, etc., this is great, especially if you want to keep people sorted. You can have a color chat. The font, this is where you can change your font because like if you're getting older like I am and you're having issues with reading some of the stuff, you can change it. Nearby input is your chat bar. Nearby output is toast, and bubble, or none. Um, that's I'm gonna let you play with that because it's actually kind of fun. So play with it and see which one you like. um, Down here is where your logs and transcripts are saved at. So if you ever need to find your log for a chat conversation to submit a report to us, this is where you're going to find it right here. So, and do remember that a lot of times your app data is not going to be shown. So hitting browse is beautiful. But again, I don't think it's actually going to is it going to show me it here? No, it's not. But this is the URL that you need when you actually need to go find it, except that yours will be different because obviously your name may or may not be Beth, but it depends on how you're actually doing things. You can do a clear log as well to reset your entire log. It'll completely do it, and delete transcripts, which will delete all of your transcripts. Translation doesn't actually work. Auto replace and spell checking, those, yeah, they don't work. Notifications. You can set how you get notifications. So you can say either you get it'll open the conversation window for you automatically. It'll pop up a message. It'll flash the toolbar button down here, which is this, or no action. You just won't ever, you'll just know it when you finally open it. And you can set that for all of these. So if they're non-friend IMs, if they're conference, which would be more like group calls, the group chat and conference are the same. And objects. So if you have a prim that you're working on and you're scripting and it's sending you messages, object IMs, that's what you can specify there. And then nearby chat, so the people around you talking locally. You can also have it play sounds so that you're alerted. So for nearby chat, new IM conversation, every object IM, voice call, group IM, friend IM, every non-friend IM, every conference IM, TP offer, and inventory offer, it will play a sound for. As you can see, I only have 2, because I want to make sure that those are the ones I don't miss. But you set it any way you want to. It's just so that you know that these options are there. These are responses. I don't have these because I don't ever do this. I just won't answer you until I'm actually ready to answer you. Do not disturb response. If I am actually working on something and I don't want to be disturbed, I would just set this. But you can change this text to be whatever you want. So if you don't want to be disturbed, you can say, hey, you put this as a, Hey, I'm working on something, so I'll get back to you later. Consider it like your voicemail. Auto response, so you can have an auto response for when people get a hold of you. So, got your message, but I'm a bit busy at the moment. I'll IM you later. Auto response to non-friends. I don't know you. Sorry, I'm busy and I know you need info. We'll get back to you later. Then you can have it set to auto respond to new instant messages from anyone or auto respond to new instant messages from non-friends. That way, so if you're at a party and you've got somebody who just got a hold of you that you don't know or you don't want to hear from people who are outside of your friends list, you just turn this on and it'll default to this. But if you're busy building, you're going to turn these both on so that you don't get interrupted by other people and it just sends the message for you. You can turn those off. Commands. Yes, you have all sorts of little commands here that you can use. I'm just going to let you play with these. These are, teleports to ground, to height, teleport to a region, clear contents. Sometimes there's lots of easier ways to do this than what you see here. So if you're really big into commands, feel free to check them out and do what you want. Move and view. So essentially, when you're moving around, your view angle is set to a default, so you can change that. As you can see, I can change that. Normally, it's back behind you. I happen to have my avatar facing the camera, so yeah. The distance from it and the zoom time as to how quickly you zoom. Position smoothing, which for machinima is really, really big. Keyboard. Arrow keys always move me, which means that you're defaulted to arrow keys, always moving your actual avatar. I prefer the WASD, but you can do it either which way. Moving resets the camera. Actually, I do actually like that one because a lot of times I want to move and it doesn't reset my camera, and I'm like, where am I? Because I zoomed way out. Tap, tap, hold. So essentially, if you're using your arrow keys, you just double tap the forward arrow key or the up arrow key, and you'll start auto running. Hold jump or crouch key to start or stop flying, and we're going to get into that in the next video as to what those are. Your mouse sensitivity, whether you want it inverted, that's where you set this. Automatic position for build, edit, and appearance. This just automatically sets a position for, especially for appearance, you'll automatically go into a particular position, what we call a T-pose. Your camera constraints, you can disable the constraints, disable the minimum zoom, disable the object push, which is important if you're doing machinima type things and you need to unrestrain your camera. Movement, always allow flight, sit while away, moonwalk, nimble, and avatar click focus, which focuses the camera on your avatar when clicked. I'm gonna let you play with these. I think you'll enjoy playing with those. Notifications. Tell me when you spend money, when you get money, and when my friends log in or out. You can always turn these on or off however you want. And then you have a bunch of things here that you can choose never to show or always to show. So it's totally up to you on these. Like a grid was added to the grid list. So we won't ever have that confirmed before I add a new group owner. That's kind of important that you always want to. Owner is big because if you put somebody as an owner to your group, they can take over your group. So don't ever do that. All right, colors. Now you can set your chat font colors, especially for that one that we were talking about where you want different colors. You can do that, and you can say use rainbow effects, etc. You can set the opacity, active, inactive for the floater opacity. And here's your tag colors, and you can change them to whatever you want. You just click on them and set them to whatever you want. Privacy. This is important. So, general, disable editing particles and beam. Do not place snapshot anims and sound. Only friends and groups know I'm online. Show my profile info and search results. So you can run completely in stealth mode when you want to. It's totally up to you. You can say only friends and groups can call or IM me. You can say switch off microphone when ending calls or show my favorite landmarks at login. That way, when you first start up, it's right there via the start at in the drop-down menu. We'll get to that a little bit later. Look at targets, names. You can do it by name. Show a line from look at beacon to avatar. It'll give you a beacon. Don't show me my look at target, and don't send my actual camera target to it. A lot of this is really advanced, and you won't really have much need for it, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Setup. This is important. Really, really important. If you have a higher end internet connection, you're going to want, in fact, I don't know why this is so low. I'm just going to pump this right up to here because I have really good internet. But normally you should be probably in about the 2000 to 2500 kbps range, unless of course you're on really, really bad download speed time. This is what helps you actually be able to res the world a lot faster is based on your maximum bandwidth. I don't know why mine was set so low. Custom port. If you have a particular port that you've defined through your firewall, you're going to want to set it here for your custom port so that your firewall can get through. Pipeline, HTTP requests, that actually should be on, and I don't have it on. Web, use my browser. So we have a built-in browser. I like to use my browser, which I use Chrome. Use built-in browser for all links. Enable plugins, accept cookies, and enable JavaScript. So if you don't want cookies, and you don't want plugins, and you don't want JavaScript for the built-in browser, turn these all off. That is my recommendation, by the way. Turn those off. Or use your own browser, one or the other. Software updates, install automatically. Yeah, we don't do that, just so you know, so don't worry about it. Proxy settings, if you have a proxy and you know how to use that, obviously use your proxy settings here. Advanced, cache size. So cache size is definitely important. I have mine at 2 gigs, as you can see. If you have a good computer or at least enough hard space drive, definitely you want to pop this up to 2048 because here's the thing. Every time you visit a new region that you've never been to, your system has to download all of the assets and textures to that region. But let's say you're on your home region. You shouldn't have to re-download all of those. So it's faster res because when you pop in, we've already cached all of that information. We just pull right directly from your hard drive. Boom! It's much faster than relying on our servers to download it. The only time you should hit clear cache, only time, is if you're having severe issues with actual seeing people around you. People are not resing, items are not resing, etc. Your cache might be full and you need to clear it. That is the only time you should ever do that. Only time. Or unless we tell you to. But that's how you do it. You would hit clear cache here, log out, log back in. It'll take a couple seconds extra. It'll tell you that it's clearing your inventory or your cache, and then it'll log you back in. This is your cache location, just like the text and where things are. This is where you will find where your cache is. So if we ever tell you that we need to know where what's in your cache, this is where you're going to look. We don't typically ask that, just so you know, but in rare cases of support, we may need to ask you that. This is your UI size, so you can, if you're like me and going blind, you can set it to whatever you need. I set mine to 2 because I don't like struggling to find anything. It's just the way I am. You can do it to whatever you want, though. Also because I'm on a 4K monitor, so at 2, it really helps me see everything. Show script errors, and if you're a scripter, this is important. Show script errors in nearby chat or a separate window. I like mine in a separate window so that it's not part of my local chat because I want to be able to focus on what I'm actually working on. But it also, if I go to a dance, let's say, and people are dancing and somebody puts something on that's not scripted correctly, I'll see the error, but it's not part of my chat. It's actually sitting off in a box I can just close. That will happen as well. You'll find that every once in a while. Allow multiple viewers. So if you're doing some jouncing around between avatars, you necessarily want, in fact, I don't know why mine wasn't on because I do this quite often. This way you can run 2, 3, 4, or 5, however many copies as your system can handle for your avatars so that you can bounce things around between them. Show the advanced menu, show the develop menu. This is probably defaulted off for you. It should be anyways. Mine is defaulted on because I am a founder, so I keep these things on. Uploads. This is where all of your stuff gets uploaded to. So these are the folders. So textures, sounds, animations, objects. And you can change where they go to, just so you know. So to change a destination folder, right click on it in the inventory and choose use as a default for. We'll get into inventory a little bit later. Third video. Interface. Show hover tips. This means that there's things that are like you'll see prims that are tip jars, etc., and you'll see hover text. Selection or hover tips like this, Elenia Llewellyn. If you hover over people, you'll get hover tips. Selection beam points at object's bounding box. So if you're selecting something, it'll have a beam. Disabled force stand on appearance edit. You can disable the force stand, the T-pose. Shake the screen when the region is about to restart, which is nice because if you are renting from somebody and they decide to do a region restart and you're not paying attention to the little notification that comes up, your screen will shake for you to let you know, hey, we're going to restart. Open profiles in web mode. Eh, totally up to you. Inventory. Enable paste as link, which is really handy, especially for landmarks. Hide empty system folders. So yeah, if you have folders that are totally empty, they're just hidden. Auto accept new inventory offers. So if you want to accept anything that is sent to you automatically without ever having to think about it, go ahead and auto accept. I don't. I like to actually accept them and then go through what I actually got and open them up. Auto accept all types of inventory. Again, I have my own preference, but you do what you want. Res objects under land group. So yeah, that just allows you to do that. Mouse look. Display position and avatar health. If you're on a region, see like up here we have avatar health. Yeah, health. Display targeted avatar's name under the crosshair. There you go. Reset camera on application focus change. Yeah, definitely. So if you go outside and you come back in, it'll reset your camera. Show me in mouse look. Oh, I'm backwards, so I can't do that. But you can do that. You can, whatever. Probably because I have this, and I probably have to restart. And realistic mouse look. I don't ever play with that, so I'll let you play with that. Status bar, show seconds and clock. That would be up here. So if you want to have it show the seconds, or you can say no. It's just 12:07 or 12:07:03. Totally up to you. Security, disable, click to sit on objects. You actually really want this kind of on. So, and revoke object permissions. You don't really want to turn this off because a lot of times if you sit in a chair or on a car or a boat or a plane, you want it to animate you properly the way you should be. So, you know, unless somebody's messing with you, I would just leave it to never. Grids, this really doesn't apply because we are not hypergrid connected, so you don't have to worry about this. And skinning. If you don't like the looks, you can change it to this. Let's say I'll apply. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead. And you won't see it though, but you can change any of these that you want. So that is preferences. So again, your biggest one is going to be first hitting your graphics, making sure that you have all of this set up the way you want. Then you want to go to notifications, making sure what you see there. Your chat, this is definitely something that everybody wants to do. Move in view, if you want to use WASD, then you leave arrow keys, always move me as unselected. But if you want to use your arrow keys, then select this. I prefer WASD movement with the mouse to direct me. And then let's see here, what else? Oh, and then your advanced, your cache. Make sure you have all of these set up correctly. That will help improve your performance greatly when you are here in InWorldz. Your bandwidth is probably going to take some time to play with this if you don't have a great connection. But if you do, crank that up to 2500, 3000. I know I said 2000 and 2500, but it can be anywhere between 2500 and 3000 if you've got at least a decent, decent 25 down connection. If you got that, go for it. And that pretty much concludes this tutorial. So I hope that helped you set up for making your life a little bit easier in InWorldz. And the next video that we're going to do and that you're going to be able to see is going to be how to walk around and get around in InWorldz. And it's going to be much shorter than this video, I promise. So again, welcome to InWorldz new resident. We are so excited to have you here, and we hope that these tutorials help you motivate in our world a little bit easier. Have a wonderful day.